The San Francisco Giants make another splash at the July 31st trade deadline as we have acquired Tristan Beck, a 23-year-old starting pitcher from the Atlanta Braves, and also Daniel Winker, a 29-year-old major league reliever. And so let's get into this, guys. Tristan Beck, he was a Stanford graduate, which makes this all the more impressive. And he was drafted by the Atlanta Braves in the 4th round in the 2018 Major League Draft. And so in 12 minor league A-ball rookie games for Tristan Beck, he was 2-2 with a 5.03 ERA, but more notably was the strikeout total, 58 strikeouts in 48 and a third innings. And so the thing is, he struggled a little bit since, coming over to professional ball, and that is in large part due to some injuries he's had. Nothing too major, but again, still very young here and continuing to develop. And when he was at Stanford, he finished a phenomenal season there, going 14-9 with a 2.79 ERA, and he has a good 4-pitch mix. Highly regarded college pitcher and a very good athlete. So, this is a tremendous pickup for the Giants. I absolutely love this move. I think that, it's going to take some more time and practice, for Tristan Beck to continue to develop. But, you definitely like the acquisition. And so now to get into reliever Daniel Winkler, he has spent 5 Major League seasons with the Atlanta Braves, accumulating a 3.68 ERA across that span. And so this year, of course, he has had some struggles, and that has been due to a higher fly ball percentage rate, which has led to a lot more home runs being hit in the air. And so he was sent down to AAA and had pitched in 18 games down in AAA. And what we saw when he went down to AAA is that the fly ball percentage decreased, although the ERA kind of stayed around the same. But, definitely I think, the adjustments that he was able to make down there in AAA, maybe, kind of get him in the right frame of mind, because, your mind sometimes can be against you when, you don't even realize kind of where your thoughts are going. So, definitely big for him to make those adjustments. And I think a change of scenery here is going to be great for Winkler. And, he's still very young, of course, 29 years old. So I think, the development for him is only going to get better from this point forward. Now, let's get into the Braves perspective side of things, acquiring Mark Melancon. So the story with Mark Melancon, of course, he signed a 4-year, $62 million deal with the Giants, and that was following to the 2016 season in which, we had the rough bullpen meltdown in the postseason against the Cubs. And so in the offseason, we went out and signed Melancon, expecting him to be our closer, and he was going to shore up this role. And, unfortunately, his time with the Giants, his first couple years in 2017 and 2018, he was injured. He was very limited to, being able to be healthy, and so he couldn't pitch to his best ability due to a pronator injury that he had going on, with his arm. And so, unfortunately, again, the struggles that he had. But, coming into 2019, Mark Melancon was healthy, and we finally started to see him produce, the way that we always had envisioned him to produce, although it didn't come in the closer role, as, of course, we all know the success that Will Smith had once he took over that closer job last year in 2018. And so, this is another big thing, is that at this trade deadline, the Giants were able to acquire all of this talent, and they did so without having to give up a Madison Bumgarner or a Will Smith. As we know, so many teams out there are trying to acquire bullpen help because, a lot of teams are thinking that they're one missing piece away from possibly winning a World Series or being a legit playoff contender. And so you're going to see some teams willing to give up a lot, and the Braves are actually going to be taking on the remainder of Mark Melancon's salary. So I believe he's owed about somewhere between like 16 to 20 million, around there, something like that. But that's still a huge chunk of change to get off the books if you're Farhan Zaidi, because when Farhan Zaidi took over this new role as president of baseball operations, you have to understand that he inherited a lot of contracts that almost you can essentially say were thank you contracts that the Giants gave out to their stars, and they did so because of, what they had done in the past. But what we're starting to see in baseball now is a trend moving, and instead of paying a guy for what they've done, you're going to pay a guy for essentially like what these metrics and, analytics and all of this new digital age kind of stuff that we're seeing now. Whatever the numbers are going to say that this guy is going to produce over the next 2-3 years, teams are giving out short-term deals, and they're not electing to give out big contracts like, what we saw with like Albert Pujols, where he was getting like 10 years and like $350 million, or not, or no, it was like 300 million, but still way up there. You're starting to see a lot less of these kind of contracts. So the numbers were very impressive for Melanson in 2019, had a 3.50 ERA in 43 appearances, 46 and a third innings. He had 44 strikeouts, and again, he was a clutch reliever, and in his last 7 appearances, I believe he had a sub 1 or 2 ERA. So definitely of late, he was pitching on top of his game. He did go through a minor rough spell about a month or 2 months ago, and that of course ballooned his ERA just a little bit. It was in the 2s and it went up to the 3s, but again, very solid season for Melanson. And so, when you look at this trade, the Giants, we had a surplus of relievers, so we could afford to trade a Mark Melanson. So if you were of the mindset of keep a Melanson because we're going to need him down the stretch, there's a lot of arms in that bullpen. And, when you have a guy like we saw in Sam Coonrod getting called up, he's been very impressive as his ability to pitch in high leverage situations. We saw him in a game against the Cubs in the 13th inning. He went through the heart of the beast of the Cubs lineup. We know how deep the Chicago Cubs lineup is, and in that game, Sam Coonrod just absolutely went through the heart of the beast, and he hadn't done that a whole lot, so that showed definitely Bruce Bochy that, he can trust a Sam Coonrod in high leverage situations. And there are a lot of other, big time relievers that we even got stacked down in the minor league system. You got a young arm like a Melvin Adon who has a very good fastball. And so, you have guys that can step in and, be able to accommodate these bullpen roles. And so that was why Farhan Zaidi was willing to be able to trade, top relievers in this case. And so, ultimately the Giants acquiring a major league reliever in Daniel Winkler, and then of course acquiring a guy who, whether he pans out to be a starter or a bullpen piece, Tristan Beck, Stanford graduate, very young arm, 23 years old, and you love the high strikeout total, 58 strikeouts in 48 and a third innings, and that's just after having come over to rookie A-ball, so very impressive. And so guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did and made it all the way through, be sure to smash that like button, as I very much appreciate all the feedback from you guys. I love reading your comments, love to interact with you. What are your guys' thoughts on, saying a goodbye to Mark Melanson? At least we can say that, the last memories we have of Melanson in a Giants uniform were very good memories, as, we saw him pitch very effectively, his last 7 or 8 games or so, and of course, having a solid 2019 season. But when you look at the talent that we got back, I'm very excited to see how that's going to pan out. So love to hear your guys' thoughts, and of course, of all the trades that we made at the deadline. And also, what do you guys think of Madison Bumgarner staying? Will he be getting that contract extension that he rightfully deserves? And will the Giants be able to pay him? They definitely have the money, and I definitely believe that they will pay him because, he has earned it, earned every right, and we know, he's going to continue to pitch and, just always give us the best that, So until next time, guys, I will see you again. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.